President Cyril Ramaphosa says several agreements are expected to be signed between South Africa and a number of countries during the BRICS Summit. He says the gathering is of fundamental importance as world problems will be discussed. More than 30 heads of state and government from across Africa are expected to attend the summit this week. It starts tomorrow. Let's unpack the significance. We're joined this morning by the CEO of the Black Business Council, Kganki Matabane. It's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. In that address last night, the President, Kganki, emphasizing non-alignment. He said it quite a few times. What do you think the message was that Cyril Ramaphosa was sending to the global community with this emphasis?
Good morning, Michelle and the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. The message that the President has indicated last night is very, very important for us because South Africa should remain at all times, material times, should remain independent because we have seen countries that are not independent in the continent, for example, where some of the global institutions will be utilized against your own decisions. For example, there will be countries, for example, that get money from the IMF, countries that are not able to raise their own budgets, unlike South Africa. The IMF will determine their political direction. So it's important that at all times South Africa becomes or remains independent so that we can take our own decisions. We can, for example, for economic transformation, you need South Africa to say, we have a certain past, we need to take measures that are going to bring equality. But if you are dependent or you are not independent, you are dependent on other countries for your financial support, you won't be able to do that. So we support that move by the President.
Yeah. For our viewers who are asking the question around, whether non-alignment is the same as sitting on the fence, the President did have a comment on that as well, where he said it doesn't mean South Africa will be neutral on matters of principle. And I suppose we can guess what he was talking about just then.
Yes, principles are very, very important. And coming to business, for example, the non-alignment has actually helped South Africa to find itself in this significant and fortunate position where it is an invited member of BRICS, but it's a full member of BRICS now. And there are almost 40 countries that want to join BRICS because they've realized that power is actually shifting from the West to BRICS countries. And South Africa is fortunate to be both in the West, almost in good terms with the West, but also find itself in this position where it is part of 40% of the global population, which is very, very significant for business, which tells you that South Africa is part of the market because any other country that wants to do business with any foreign country, they look at the market and say, are we able to sell our goods? And then when we look at 40% of global population being BRICS, that is huge from a business point of view. Yeah. And also when you look at the economic point of view, BRICS make quarter of the global economy. That is economic power. That is very, very significant. So that helps us as South Africans to be both in institutions like AGOA, where we are able to do business with the US and other countries in the West, but also do business with the other countries in the East, like China, as you know. China is our biggest trading partner. And then you will see, I think if you go around to Kganki states, for example, you see a lot of South African companies, small and medium black businesses that are exhibiting to business people who are coming from BRICS countries. And that is an opportunity for collaboration. So most of the black businesses and small businesses who are doing business, they will tell you, for example, they are getting their products from China, they are getting products from India, and that is part of the relationship with BRICS countries. And then that helps, and we just need to grow that so that we can then have those relationships come into South Africa so that we can localize production and then create jobs. And that is very, very important because of the serious crisis of unemployment in South Africa.
Yeah, and you're speaking to the question that will be on all of our minds. South Africans who are watching what's unfolding this week in Johannesburg will ask, how are these various agreements that are being signed going to translate in changes in my own life as an unemployed youth in South Africa? I mean, back when, BRICS nations first came together, the point was to, sort of change a world order that was seen as just serving Western interests, an alternative to the current hegemony in world affairs. How does all of that politics and business speak translate in materially changing any country's conditions?
Yes, for example, if you look at the BRICS Bank, the BRICS Bank has already funded a few projects in the continent, including South Africa. It has funded projects on energy, and as you know, we've got the crisis in energy in South Africa. And the relationships and then the agreements that are going to be signed, some of them are relating to skills development. You'll know that South Africa is looking for skills development to improve productivity in the continent. We're looking at technology exchanges. We're looking at energy solutions to be able to solve load shedding, but most importantly, to ensure that load shedding will never happen again once it's solved. Because it's one thing to solve it for short term and then it comes again, and that creates a serious challenges regarding the country. So tourism as well, when we look at having 40% of the global population mainly coming from India and China, that is a huge market for tourism. And then that will translate into small businesses on the ground that will experience, when tourists come to South Africa, they also do business with small businesses on the ground. So people will be able to feel it. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit of time because the world is still trying to recover from COVID, but we've seen some improvement if you go around the areas around Kruger National Park, you'll see some improvement in terms of resuscitation of small businesses there. So there will be things that are felt by local people, but unfortunately some of these things, they take time.
Yeah. But I suppose, Kganki, the number of countries that we're seeing lining up to apply to join BRICS is an indicator of whether BRICS is successful or sort of is on the road to success, to being an alternative to the current world order.
Yes, remember, from a trade point of view, BRICS is the future. And remember, we also signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. And that can be accelerated by BRICS countries coming to South Africa and coming to the rest of the continent to establish businesses, to establish their manufacturing plants, so that we can be able to create jobs in those countries in the continent, and including South Africa. So that for us is very, very important, and it will accelerate the implementation just from a sheer numbers point of view. From an import and export point of view, there are huge opportunities for South African businesses that should take advantage of, mainly because of this. And you're right, around 40 countries have got interest in joining. They've seen that this is the future. BRICS is able to be able to contribute to the change in the powers, global powers, as you have seen recently. And the other opportunity that I forget to mention is, for example, on financial services. When you go to countries like Russia, there's a change in the system, in the financial banking system, because of the challenges around the Ukraine and Russia war. So there are opportunities for South African banks and South African financial services to create a global banking system that does not depend on the two major ones that we've seen recently.
Kganki Matabane is the CEO of the Black Business Council. Sir, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's going to be an interesting 3 days, the BRICS Summit kicking off tomorrow until Thursday.